Um, all right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us in today's PT. Today we're going to be talking about the responsibilities of a coach and what you're supposed to be doing during a tournament. If you're a returning coach, then you're pretty familiar with all the steps and all the things you're supposed to do during a debate tournament. If you are a new coach, then we have a couple of things in stock for you today. So I hope this is helpful for you. This is going to be posted in our YouTube page. And if you're part of my portfolio schools, you're going to have access to this PD at or Google Classroom. So just to give you a quick rundown, there's a lot of responsibilities that happen during a debate tournament as a coach, and it might be a little bit overwhelming. So I hope that this can prepare you better before your first tournament as a coach. And if you're a returning coach and you have some questions, I hope this helps you clarify anything else. So the registration is super important. When you arrive with your team at the school, you need to register your teams. This sounds a little bit confusing because you have done a pre-registration on tabroom. So when we're saying registration, we simply refer to the concept of you walking to the registration table. In each tournament, there's going to be a registration table. You're just going to go there and you're going to make sure that all the teams that were registered in tabroom are present. If by any chance any debater is not present or a team has to leave before the tournament, we can make all the changes right then and then. So it's super crucial that you show up and make those changes and let the registration table know of anything that might happen between when you get picked up from the school and you get to the school, or maybe on Saturday morning a debater doesn't feel well and a student has to go Maverick. We can make those changes happen before the actual tournament. So on Friday, October 20th, for the first tournament, our registration will end at 3:30 p.m. I know it's the first tournament, so if by any chance you cannot get there by 3:30, there's that grace period that we can still register you. So just, communicate with your program manager or the tournament director, which will be me throughout the tournament, in case you're running late, if your bus is behind, if you have a couple of students who just are late because of the tea, please let us know. On Saturday, the registration ends at 8:30 p.m. Sorry, 8:30 a.m. This one's slightly different. So because students will start getting into the school building at different times, they can register themselves as soon as they get to the building. And they can go ahead and get breakfast or wait for their team and the coach at the cafeteria or the designated waited area, depending on the tournament. But even if the students already registered, you as a coach, you still have to go to the registration table and make sure that the students are registered with their teams or if they're Maverick. So both days, even if the students had already registered, just go to the registration table and make sure they are present. Any communication that we're going to have or any announcements, they are going to go through talking points. That's going to be our main tool for mass communication throughout the tournaments. In talking points, you will receive reminders for food, rounds, if there's any change in the judging, or if a team drops or cannot attend during the round, we will let you know through talking points. And also information about the award ceremony. The good thing about talking points is that, hi, Melissa, thank you for joining. The good thing about talking points is that once you receive a mass communication, you can also send direct messages to the person who is sending the messages. As the tournament director, I will be sending all that communication through your talking points. So if you don't have talking points that loaded on your phone, please make sure you do so. If you don't want to have the app, you can download the talking points or make an account online and link your phone number so you get your notifications from there. But it's super important that you have that information done through talking points because you get all the pairings for the rounds through talking points. If by any chance you cannot get the information through talking points and you still need to communicate anything to us, you can text me as the tournament director. That's my cell phone number, but I will also share my cell phone number at the tournaments, before the tournaments. If you have the communication sheet, my cell phone number is already there. But just in case, my cell phone number is right on the screen, 617-792-0301. And you can also communicate with me before the tournament if you have any questions regarding the coach roles. So what happens when the debate actually starts? So the parents, like I stated earlier, they will be sent to use the talking points, but they will also be posted throughout the main room. So we are going to print out the parents and put them around the common spaces so the students can start checking their assigned rooms and whether they're going to be affirmative or negative. You can also check this information on tabroom. I will show you in a second how to do that. But talking points is the easiest way. We scan it, we send you a PDF, and there's no extra hustle that you have to go through it. When the students know their room assignment and their role, whether they're affirmative or negative, they can start heading to the rooms. Coaches do not have to walk every single team to the rooms, especially at the first tournament, which is English High School. We are all in one building. If we're at Suffolk University, it can get a little bit messy because we have two different buildings. But at English High School, it's pretty straightforward. All the rooms will be marked with a sign that tells you which rooms are available for debating, and they will be marked on the sorry, I'm just looking at the chat, on the spreadsheet that we're going to be sending you. So like I said, debaters can just start walking towards the room, but coaches just need to make sure that the students make it to the room. And if by any chance there are, the students make it to the room, but there is not a judge in the room, or the other team is missing, and the student texts you, please let me know, or please communicate through talking points so we can start fixing that right away. If all the students are present at the rounds and all the rounds are going smoothly, coaches are more than welcome to go and check out different rounds. You are not committed to one specific round. You can go and check it out and walk to a different team if that's what you want, as long as you do it quietly and not interrupting. At novice rounds, we allow coaches to answer any questions or any confusions that the judge might have, but they cannot interact with the students. So if the student has a question about evidence, you as a coach cannot go and talk to the student, right? So if you're going to walk into a round, please make sure you do so quietly and sit down, acknowledge that the judge is there and let them know that you're present, but please do not interact with the debaters as the debate is happening, because that could negatively impact your team. Coaches are also expected to at least judge one round in each tournament. This usually depends on the amount of judges we have. If we have a great pool of judges, then great, you're off the hook. But if you don't have a lot of judges, then you are expected to judge at least one round. If you have any questions about it, you can check the judge training video. It's about half an hour. But if you have already judged before or you feel comfortable because of the practices, you can also check out the review video, which is only 15 minutes long. But we do expect all the coaches to go through that experience of judging, because once you understand the judging role, you can help your debaters be prepared better when they are going to go into their debate rounds and prepare their arguments, their evidence. So don't be surprised if you see your name in the judge pool. And if you're freaking out and you need extra support and you want some pointers, find any BDL staff and ask them for questions or suggestions that they can do to be a better judge. And we're more than happy to answer those questions. And this is super important. If you know that any of your students have an IEP or any other educational arrangements, you can communicate that to us, preferably before the tournament starts, because we can put a symbol in the ballot. So the judges are aware that one of the teams or a student within the team has an IEP or has anxiety or it's incapable of speaking fast or reading properly, or they're ESL student and they are struggling with pronouncing certain words. We can let the judges know so they are prepared, and that way they can take that into consideration when they are giving the points and the results. So what happens if you are judging a round and your debaters are finishing early or don't have a round? There's going to be moments that your debaters might not have a round because there's not enough teams or the team that was present leaves. There's many variables, right? So if that happens, the debater can either wait for you or the common area. We're going always to have some BDL personnel just walking around, but we encourage the students to go to another debate round or join their coaches at the round they are judging. That way the students are with an adult and they're not just wandering around. If in case of BDL staff sees a couple of students just hanging out, we're going to go and talk to them and let them know that they have to be in a debate round, or we're going to try to contact the coach to see where they are and if they can go to that room. And let's say that you're judging and you have a debater who's having issues, or the judge is not present and they're texting you during the debate round, just shoot me a text or contact the hotline in the ballot, and we will get someone to help your debaters, even if you're judging. Same thing if a team finishes early, they can start heading to the common room and just start reviewing or de-stress a little bit, because rounds can be a little bit stressful. And just make sure that you encourage your debaters to go to other rounds so they can get better skills and better support. Sorry, I have all the light on my face. Okay, so those are major roles that you have to keep in mind as the rounds are happening. And if you're also a new judge and you are a little stressed, then don't worry. After your round, you can also distress a little bit, and you can also chat with BDL personnel for any questions that you might have. So usually for novice students, the rounds tend to be super overwhelming. It's the first time they are present. It's the first time that they get judged about their opinions and ideas and comments. So it can be a really overwhelming moment. I remember my first tournament when I did Debate en Español back in 2013. I got upset because I could have done a better job. So my partner and I just, were really upset, and we got support from our coach to calm down and get better strategies. So some ideas that you can do as a coach to support your debaters after the first couple of rounds, and you see them a little bit stressed, overwhelmed, bummed out because they didn't do as well, or they're just being really hard on themselves because they couldn't pronounce a word in the packet. There's many things you can do. You can just chat with the student and ask them about their experience during the round, things that they think they did well, things that they could improve during their debate. You can go over arguments with the debaters, and if the other team said any arguments that confuse your team, you can chat and try to find evidence to support your team so they are better prepared for the next round. It's super important that you encourage your debaters to take notes during the debate rounds. That way, if they hear something that they didn't, analyze before or thought about it before, and that confusing in a round, they can go in between rounds and look for the evidence and maybe use that in their next debate round. Together with the debaters, you can review the evidence packet. I know that in practices, we ask you guys to do that consistently, but it's totally different when you're in a debate round because everything gets confusing, right? You are scattering for evidence. Maybe you had a perfect order, but the student in the first round moves it around and the team is confused. So it's always good to talk to the students and make sure that they regroup the evidence packet so they don't get lost in the next round. You can help them plan better strategies or start writing the first affirmative case, which is the first speech. You can help the teams to discuss strategies for the next round, better evidence support, better argumentation skills, or just incentivize conversation amongst themselves so they figure out what they did good, what strategies they can use, who can keep a timer on communication while the round is happening. So there's many things that you can do as a coach while that's happening. We have a lesson that we cover over the coach camp called Not Losses on Lessons. That will be a PD that we're going to be covering after the first tournament to make sure that we can support our debaters in the best way possible. And, they don't feel that they are not good enough for debate after the first tournament. After the first tournament, we see a lot of teams decreasing in size. So we just want to make sure that all the debaters have the tools necessary to do so. And like always, if you don't know how to support your debaters because you are not confident in your debating skills yourself, feel free to ask us questions. We always there to support you guys as much as we can. So in each tournament, there's going to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's always provided through BDL. Friday night, so all the tournaments this year are 2-day tournaments. So Friday night, we're going to have a dinner. And Friday nights, the dinners tend to be a little bit more casual. We tend to have pizza or things that are easier to handle. So once you get to the tournament on Friday, and you done the registration, make sure that your team has a table that they can all sit together. Remember, you have to be chaperoning the kids, so you have to be always aware of where they are, what they're doing. So as a coach, you got to make sure that they have their dinner ready. So if you're doing pizza, you can grab a couple of boxes and sit down with the students so they have dinner, or depending what we're serving. Like I said, dinner on Friday nights, it's usually something that it's easy to grab. It's not a lot of hassle for anybody, and it's easy to clean. Now, when it comes to Saturday, For breakfast, debaters are more than welcome to just go ahead and grab breakfast. The coaches are not in charge of that. If the student wants to grab food in the morning, great. If not, that's also fine. Just do encourage them to eat because it's a long morning and we don't want anybody to pass out because they didn't have anything to eat beforehand. The registration, like I said, it's at 8:30. Just got to make sure that your debaters are there. But if by any chance they want to stop by at Donks and buy their own food, they're more than welcome to do so as well. But we will have breakfast at the tournaments. When it comes to lunch, we do ask coaches to help us serve lunches. We have a limited amount of volunteers, and the debaters lunch and the judge lunch happens almost at the same time. So we have our volunteers helping the judges, and we just ask you guys as coaches to help us out. Obviously, we rotate every 10 to 15 minutes to make sure that the first round of volunteers that are helping us serve our debaters can also get their food and sit down. So don't be surprised if we ask you out of nowhere, hey, please, can you help us serve our food for our debaters? We have everything prepared. We have gloves for you, hand sanitizer, all the utensils ready. So you just have to, look pretty and pass food for our debaters, which is always, always helpful for us. Also super important, please let us know if any of your debaters have any allergies. That way we can put that in the ballot and communicate with all the teams. Especially last year, we had a student with a severe peanut allergy. So we posted everywhere in the communication with the coaches, in the ballots, in the rooms. We let all the students know to not consume any items with peanuts around the common areas or in the rooms, just to avoid any disaster. So please, if you know any students with any allergy, just let us know and we can accommodate accordingly. In every tournament, there is a coach meeting, right? So usually they tend to happen in the third round. And it's an hour-long meeting, and we cover various things, right? Usually the idea of these coach meetings is to strengthen the community of coaches by introducing yourselves, talking to other coaches, sharing experiences, struggles, and strategies that you implement as a coach. This is a great opportunity for new coaches to chat with veteran coaches to get better understanding and more strategies. I remember when my first year of coaching, which I said that I said like I had 1 year of coaching. I was paired with coaches who had way more experience than I did, and they were super helpful at giving me strategies and ideas, especially in how to connect with my students better. I feel like that tends to be a little bit harder because a lot of the students that I had in my team, I was not teaching them. So it made it really hard for me to make really good connections. But because of the conversations I had with other coaches, exchanging numbers and emails, I got to implement new strategies and help me increase the community within my team. We also discuss policies or things that we're going to implement during the first half of the second half of the season or for the future of BDL. So sometimes you might have to judge during this coach meeting. Sometimes you just have to join. But we do ask that at least one coach per team is present during these coach meetings. We do send the agenda afterwards. We do send all the notes that we take during the meeting. But it's always helpful to be present. So like always, you will get an announcement through talking points, letting you know the room and the time for the coach meeting. I believe for this first sermon is going to be on Saturday during the third round. Roger and I will be leading those meetings, and you just will be announced and let know when they are happening. So after all the rounds are happening and all the last round is done, and you judge and you participate on the coach round, the coach meeting, you will be attending the award ceremony. This is the last thing that happens during the debate tournament. There are certain things that we ask from coaches during the award ceremony. We just ask that all the teams are seated together, whether this is in a road or at a table. At English High School, we can use the auditorium, so all the teams have to be sitting together. We ask that the students are quiet and respectful. Obviously, we're not asking you to judge all the students, but just make sure that they are aware that people are talking and that we don't have to elevate our voices to talk over the students. If, depending on the tournament, if it's middle school or high school, they might be the debater of the month, and we ask coaches to come to the stage and talk for 30 seconds and give a blurb as to why that student got selected to receive the award, the debater of the month. We also sometimes, when we're doing school awards, we ask all the teams to come to the stage, take a nice team photo. And lastly, sometimes these award ceremonies can feel long and boring for the debaters. And as a coach, we ask you to, just hype up the students, hype up the teams to make sure that they are feeling the energy in the room. Especially in the first tournament, we just want to make sure that all the debaters have a great experience and that the award ceremony feels welcoming and exciting for everybody. So if you have never had the chance to be a hype man or a hype woman, this is your chance. Please use it accordingly. I will be doing the award ceremony, so I try my best to hype up the students and get a lot of energy. And it can be a little bit overwhelming when there's not a lot of energy. So help me help you help the debaters by keeping the energy up. So the last thing that we have is the dismissal from the tournaments. On Friday nights, all rounds tend to wrap up around 7:40 to 8 p.m. on Fridays. And on Saturdays, the award ceremony tends to end at 2 p.m. if we are not running late, which usually happens. So please, we ask you as a coach to make sure that you are aware of the plans for students, if they're going to get picked up or if they're taking the T. That's super important. But we do ask you to not leave until all the students from your team have been either picked up or they are on their way to the T, because we don't have the parent contacts. And if a student is left behind, we don't know how to support them because, we ask for the parents' number, try to communicate with the parents, but sometimes the parents are like behind because of traffic. But, we don't want to leave two students with adult strangers that they might not know because that can get a little bit uncomfortable for the students. So we just want to make sure that we always create a safe environment for the students. So please, if you have to leave early for an emergency and you're leaving one debater behind, try to let a BDL staff know that that's happening and try to give us an idea when the parent is coming or what the action plan is for the student. We understand that 7:40 or 8 p.m. is pretty late, for especially for freshmen or middle school students. Middle school tournaments tend to end earlier. And if by any chance you don't know where the parent is, you cannot get in contact with them, and you're a little overwhelmed because it's already 8 p.m. and you also want to go home, we can help you arrange Uber and Lyft rides. We don't want to take that route all the time because it's a safety concern, right? We never know what happened in these share rides, but just try to let us know and communicate anything, and just try not to leave debaters behind. We understand 8 p.m. is pretty late, but it's an ask. We had a couple of instances last year in which everybody left and I was the last person in the building, just making sure everything was clean. And there were one or two debaters who were just sitting there, and it was already 8:30 and I didn't know what was going on. And, you're already on the way home and I'm calling you or texting you like, hey, do you know when your parents coming? So we're trying to avoid that. That's why we send you the information sheet ahead of time, so you can communicate with parents when they are going to be dismissed. And I would rather have a parent that is upset because they had to wait 20 minutes because of the debate round. It's not over when we said it was going to be over, than having a student sitting at a cafeteria at 8 p.m. by themselves. So yeah, please communicate with your parents the ending time and let us know if you have any questions and communication for this. We can always provide more information about when the rounds are going to be over. It's all about a safety concern. This is super important. I will be sending an email specifically for this, but one of the things that we always struggle at the BDL, it's the Debate en Español judging pool. So one ask that we have for all the schools, both high school specifically, but middle school teams can also send a teacher. We are asking that you look for someone, a staff member, either it's a teacher or administration or anybody who speaks Spanish in your team, and invite them to come and judge one of our tournaments. This the person does not have to specifically work at your school, but we are asking that they are teachers or work in education. They can work at a different school that doesn't have a debate team, but this could incentivize them to try to open a Debate en Español team. Ideally, we do want the same person to at least sign up for one shift per tournament. The shifts are 2 hours to 3 hours max, depending on how long the rounds are. And they do get $50 per shift. So they do come, they judge in Spanish, and they get paid. Ideally, if we have a team that brings consistently one teacher in each tournament, we will grant them $200 for their team budget at the end of the season, which they can use for swag, take the teams to eat, or take them to do an after-school experience. So this is just to help us grow our Debate en Español pool, which is something that we always struggle, and we're trying to implement this incentive to grow the judge pool and help Debate en Español students have more qualified judges that can help us judge varsity. And that was my last slide. Those are some of the things that you have to do during a debate round or tournament. Something that I want to go over super quickly is where you can find certain information in tabroom. I was supposed to do that earlier, but totally slipped my mind. So if you go into tabroom, right, I'm going to show you super quickly. Let's say I'm from Boston International School. All the schools that are already registered into tabroom will see the high school tournament one at English High School. I believe Roger already covered how to sign up new students and add teams. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and look at the PD that he did, which I believe it was PD number 5. So if you have any questions, right, so you can, before that, if you go into your profile and you don't see any of these options here, you have to put your contact information. Let me show you in a school that I haven't done it. So let me see to Fenway High School. So if I click into Fenway High School, no, I already have that one. Maybe Somerville. I already put my number in all of them. But anyways, so you click into the team tournament. If you ask you for your contact information, please just put your name and email and phone number and save contact. That's going to update and it's going to unlock all these other sections here. So in the entries, you will see all your debaters. You can click into any of these. So for example, if I want to go into novice, in this section right here where it says add entry in here, you can select the student's name and select their partner, and that would add the entry and the partners. But if you go into, that's for registrations. No, that's not what I wanted to show you. If you go into results and you click the tournament stats, you will be able to see the schools, the entries, the judges. But if you click specifically into school dashboard and all the events, you can select in a specific event, novice, and in here will tell you the entry of the students, right? You will see the names. Obviously, there's nothing here because we're not at the tournament, but in here you will see the round number, the time it starts, which room they're going to be in, which judge is going to be present, and they're going to be able to see whether they're affirmative or negative. And that's just the long way to get to the pairings for the rounds. But like I said, we will be sharing that information throughout the debate tournament. You will have that access to the talking points, and they will be posted all throughout the day as we're changing. If there's more questions about tabroom, I'm more than glad to put more time into these, but those are just where you can find all the main information. But just for recording sakes, I will actually put an entry into the Binga team and I will delete it right away because I don't want it to think that it's present, right? So let's say I want to do a novice entry. And let's say I'm going to pick Angel Jimenez. And then I will pick Wellington Ramos. Those are the two students I want to sign up as a team. I can add the entry. And as you can see, they are present here. Sorry, they are present as a team here. So when we are looking for the pairing, we are going to have that team. What circuit should we join? Through tabroom, you should be able to find the Boston Debate League circuit into it. I'm pretty sure you're seeing, let me see, home. Right, if you see circuit here, you should be able to look for the Boston Debate League. And I would tell you all the tournaments that are coming. And obviously we want to click tournament 1 at English High School. And that will bring you to the actual registration page for the tabroom. This is what you're going to see when we are sending you the registration link for the tournaments. You can look at the entries of your teams. So once you start registering the students, you will be able to see all the registered students that are present. and register. That's where you can start registering the students for the tournaments. So tabroom can get a little bit confusing. We are going to help you guys out to sign all the students before the first tournament. So if you have any questions when it comes to registering students, just please make sure you send us an email or send a text to your program manager, and that way you guys can hop on a Zoom call and they can guide you on how to register all the students. So that was our PD on certain responsibilities and things to expect in your first tournament, especially for new coaches. If there's any questions about any of the things that I cover, please feel free to send me or your program manager an email, or just shoot us a text, anything that is easier for you. But yeah, you will be finding this PD in our YouTube page, as well as the Google Classroom for my schools. If there's any questions, we are always here to help. I'm gonna stop the recording now. If I can find it.